Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Our topic today is strokes, how to prevent having a stroke, what to do if you are experiencing symptoms, and what those warning signs are. My guest is Dr. Gordon Chen, who is the author of the book, The Calling, a Memoir of Family, Faith, and the Future of Healthcare. He's also the former chief medical officer of Chen Med, the nation's leading primary care provider for seniors. Dr. Chen, thank you so much for joining us today. It is a pleasure to talk to you. We appreciate your time.
It's wonderful being here with you, Lori. Thanks for having me.
So, when we talk about strokes, immediately a lot of people think, well, that's an old person's thing. And really sort of the big headline before we even talk about what a stroke is, what the warning signs are, is this can happen to young people, right?
Well, stroke can happen to anyone, and it's important for us to just be aware of the signs and symptoms of strokes, but then also what we can do to prevent it. Getting ahead of things is way easier than solving the problem after a stroke has occurred.
So how do you prevent having a stroke? What are the main things we can know? Because strokes come on so suddenly.
Yeah. Well, not all strokes can be prevented, but you want to focus on the things that you can actually prevent. And so my background is internal medicine and cardiology, and the overlap between heart health and stroke prevention is pretty significant. So things like checking your blood pressure and making sure your blood pressure is under control, your weight, whether or not you have diabetes, if that's managed appropriately, thinking about your cholesterol and your activity, all of those things come into play when preventing stroke.
And so when you talk about things like cholesterol and blood pressure, those seem to be risk factors for a heart attack. How closely are the risk factors for heart attack and stroke?
They are very close. And actually, we see it hand in hand. So in my line of work, we take care of seniors across the country, mainly in underserved communities. And things like heart disease and stroke and diabetes, they all come together. So if you're preventing heart disease, you're also preventing stroke. Now, what I would recommend is just for all the listeners to just realize there's so much that we can do every day in our lives to extend our life and to actually help us to live better and feel better as well. And so if we can take a proactive view on our health and also realizing, I know we have a lot of Christian viewers, right? Realizing that our body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, right? And we really are charged with taking care of our bodies and our health. And I believe that if we do that better, then we can serve Christ more intently and more effectively. And so what are the types of things that we can be doing? Well, right out of the gates, just understanding that health is in our control. God has given us an ability to really influence, what we eat, how active we are, and what we do to really steward our health. Okay. Blood pressure is something that is very simple to check. Anyone can buy a blood pressure cup and check their blood pressure. And if you're within a normal range, 120/80, that's a safe place to be. Now, they call hypertension or high blood pressure the silent killer because you don't feel it. If you have a blood pressure of 180/110, you could have that for months and even years and increase your heart attack and stroke risk without even knowing it. So we have to check, right? Once we check, then we can do things to manage it better, like starting blood pressure medications or lowering your weight. Okay. Simple things like obviously smoking. Everyone's aware that smoking is bad for your health. That also contributes to your stroke risk and your heart disease risk. And then diabetes and obesity, those are things that I believe that we can control with the right focus and attention on what we eat and how active we are.
What about cholesterol?
Cholesterol is very important. And so we have these amazing drugs now called statins. They're very common, very inexpensive, very accessible, and they can significantly curb heart disease and stroke risk. But even before you get to statins and taking medications, just understanding that when we're putting the wrong foods in our bodies, we're artificially increasing our cholesterol. And typically, if you're eating cleaner foods, more plant-based foods, you're not going to have as much cholesterol. Now, most of cholesterol and saturated fats, they come from animal products and dairy and cheese and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that you have to 100% cut all of that stuff out. Just know that if you have high cholesterol and you're eating a lot of animal-based meals, then you're gonna continue to struggle with your cholesterol. So what I recommend as a cardiologist and an expert in health and wellness, particularly for seniors, but it really applies to everyone, is try to eat a whole food, plant-based diet primarily. That doesn't mean that you can't occasionally have, fish or a chicken sandwich or whatnot, but most of my meals are going to be plant-based. That means, oatmeal, high fiber cereals, fruits, vegetables, eggplant, right? Nuts. And so if the majority of our diet, our nutrition comes from cleaner plant-based foods, then we're going to avoid the issues of cholesterol, heart disease, stroke, all those things that go with it. Now, I believe that we as Americans, we need to be very careful because everything in America is mass produced to generate a profit. This is like the American way. And so oftentimes when we're eating foods that are produced in volume, they may not be the highest quality. Okay, so you have to be very careful with the type of meats that you eat, or chicken, or even fish. And they may have hormones or antibiotics or steroids in them that we end up ingesting, and that impacts our health as well. That's why if the majority of what we're eating comes from clean, whole foods, plant-based diet, then we could be assured that we don't have the extra hormones that comes with animal-based meals.
So you're definitely raising the red flag about animal products. I've heard, and I was going to ask you about this, that out of all the animal products, probably processed meats, like lunch meats, are the worst. Can you kind of talk about, when we are eating animal products, which ones are the best and which are the worst?
So, Lori, processed meats, I mean, you hit it right on. We don't know what's in that, right? And so we're ingesting it, and then our body has to fight all of the things that come with whatever is in there. Processed meats also have a lot of sodium. Sodium contributes to high blood pressure, which contributes to heart disease and stroke, right? Red meats as well. You have to be very cautious with red meats. Red meats is similar to like smoking, all right? Particularly if it's not a high quality meat, then you just envision yourself smoking a cigarette and increasing your heart disease and stroke risk that way. So if you're gonna eat animal products, I would make sure that it's as natural as you can get it, without as much of the hormones or steroids or antibiotics that come with the typical meats produced in America.
A lot of people don't really want to shy away from animal products because they think that the animal products are what makes us full, and that the plant-based products are kind of like rabbit food, and you need something that gives you, makes you feel full. What can you have on a plant-based diet that really kind of sticks to your ribs?
Yeah, great point. When I first went more plant-based, I was hungry all the time. And I thought to myself, oh, this isn't going to work if I'm hungry all the time, right? So the things that actually help you to stay full are things with high fiber. Also, they're good fats. Like avocados are good fats, and that can help you to stay full. Peanut butter or almond butter can also help you to stay full. There are good fats in them. And they also are packed with proteins. Nuts as well. You don't have to win 100% of the time with diet and nutrition. What you have to do is, the majority of what you eat needs to be clean and healthy. And occasionally you can, you have animal-based, products or desserts or whatnot. So win with at least 2 meals a day, right? Have it be plant-based. So I like a nice big hearty bowl of oatmeal, like overnight oats, great example. I put some almond butter in there, chia seeds, put some blueberries, maybe pomegranate seeds on top, super filling. And I'm a pretty big guy. I played college football, right? And so I know how to eat, okay? So that's an example. Think about, peanut butter banana sandwiches on whole grain bread, right? Maybe add some avocado in with a nice salad as well. So those are heartier meals that you can eat and then stay full as well.
All right, this is fantastic information. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with Dr. Gordon Chen. The book is called The Calling, a memoir of family, faith, and the future of healthcare. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living. We're continuing our discussion with Dr. Gordon Chen, who is the author of the book, The Calling, a memoir of family, faith, and the future of healthcare, and also former chief medical officer of Chen Med, the nation's leading primary care provider for seniors. So, Dr. Chen, we were talking earlier about stroke. For those of our viewers who don't really know what a stroke is, can you describe it and also talk about how serious it is? We know some people survive strokes and don't seem any different at all, and then other people seem to die from them.
Yeah, strokes are very serious. It's the 5th leading cause of death in America. And also, it's one of the top reasons why people lose function, right? And so what we want to do is we want to identify strokes early. So if you have any weakness in your face or loss of vision, slurred speech, or if you put your arms up and one is weak or one drifts, those are signs that you could be having a stroke. And the important thing to remember is get help right away. They say time is brain, right? And so what a stroke is part of your brain is actively dying. And so it's not getting enough oxygen or blood supply, or there's a bleed. And so when that occurs, you need to get help right away. Don't wait. Now, it's important to know that you want to prevent strokes from occurring. By the time you're having signs or symptoms, only a small percentage of those patients actually fully recover. So you want to catch it upstream. And this is what we're talking about with just making sure that we're prioritizing our health. We're eating the right foods, taking care of our blood pressure. We're not smoking. We're active. We're managing our weight, and we're really taking care of what God has given us in just our bodies.
So if you are having these symptoms, or if you are with somebody who is having these symptoms, you need to get them to the hospital right away. Does it matter where you take them? Because it seems like some hospitals are better at treating people with strokes than others. Is that even true?
Yeah, what I would do, call 911, right? The paramedics, the operators on the call, they should know where the stroke centers are. And if you tell them your symptoms, or you say, listen, a loved one I think is having a stroke, they'll know where to direct, and they'll know how long it's going to take to get there via ambulance, one hospital or the next, depending upon if they're a stroke center or not. So the important thing is just to call 911 and get help. If you're aware that you're close by to a stroke center, that's a good thing. And maybe you can, direct them to take you to that stroke center as well. But they should know.
And are there any new advances as far as stroke treatment? We've heard about some medicines that if you get there within 4 hours of the onset of a stroke, it can kind of like bust up that clot that's preventing the oxygen from getting to your brain. Are there any other new advances?
Yeah, unfortunately, there really hasn't been much new. I mean, there are some people that go in with catheters and try to retrieve the blood clot and whatnot. There are the clot busters that you spoke of that getting, to a hospital within a certain designated time can help increase your chances of a full recovery. But I like to always point folks upstream into prevention.
Prevention.
Right? By the time you're having a stroke, you're not in a good situation. All right, we've already kind of lost a lot by then. So let's get upstream. Let's prevent strokes from occurring, and let's just be aware that simple things. Sometimes it's not the fancy technology or the fancy medicine. It's just the blocking and tackling, paying attention to our blood pressure, our diet, our cholesterol, and if we have diabetes, really tightly managing that and reversing the diabetes.
Are people getting their blood pressure, their cholesterol checked on a regular basis? Like, how often should people be checking these vital signs?
So that's a great point. At Chen Med, what we do is we have these senior focused medical centers that go into poor, underserved communities and create awareness on health, checking your blood pressure, and creating a relationship with a trusted primary care provider, and then partnering with them and even meeting with them at least monthly to check your blood pressure, check your labs, and go together and journey together towards better health. And what we've seen at Chen Med, and just checking your blood pressure, your weight every month, and working with your doctor, that we can help our patients live 5 to 7 years longer and prevent 30 to 50% of hospitalizations that are preventable. And we're not doing anything that's crazy innovative other than just creating the right trusted relationships in partnership that promote health. And through this simple human approach, really, we've been on Fortune magazine's Change the World list. Newsweek magazine has listed Chen Med as the #1 most loved organization in healthcare 2 years in a row. And we've received many other accolades, which is just a simple approach of just having people go into the underserved communities and partner with them to achieve better health. Now, the reason why we're able to do that is because the model that we're built on, which is called a full risk model, aligns our incentives with the health of our patients. So that if we're preventing heart attack and stroke, then we as a company, we do better as the patients do better. The main issue that we have in this country, which is, like, I think everyone realizes that healthcare is broken in this country, right? We have what's called sick care. And although we're paying almost 20% of the US GDP going into healthcare, we're not living longer or better than countries that are paying a fraction of what we're paying for. And when we have sick care, that occurs when we as a country are promoting sickness. And so we have this negative feedback loop of sickness promoting sickness. Then you have the food industry that's promoting obesity. And then you have the pharmaceutical industry that's profiting off of sickness that comes from mainly, quite honestly, what we're eating. And so you have this kind of negative spiral that we're in as a country between, big pharma and sick care, and then, the food industry that's promoting obesity. And then it just spirals. So we need to break the cycle. And that starts with just creating awareness.
Yes.
That health is something that we can all achieve, not with anything fancy, just with blocking and tackling.
Love it. All right. This is such a great model. All right. We're going to take another quick break and be right back with Dr. Gordon Chen. Welcome back, and we're talking with Dr. Gordon Chen with Chen Med. Such a fantastic practice you have, and it's really built a lot on faith. Can you talk about your faith story, your family's faith story, Dr. Chen?
Sure. Well, Chen Med is not necessarily a Christian company, like exclusive for Christians or whatnot, but we as a family full of Christians, we wanted to make sure that we can express our faith authentically, and that there wasn't a disconnect between our faith and our work. We wanted to make sure that it was fully integrated. And so we wanted to create an environment where we can be who we are and honor Christ and have a culture that includes love as one of our core values. And as a family, what we realized is God was doing something really incredible in us and through us. And even to be able to work together as a family and to really fight for poor, underserved communities, it felt very fulfilling. And we had a calling. We wrote a book about it, a calling for us as a family full of physicians, but then also Christians, that we can go into the poor, underserved communities just like Jesus would want us to, and heal with love, and create the right relationships that would transform individuals and transform communities. And to me, that's just an expression of my faith, and God loving us and healing us, how do we then pour into others with that same type of healing love? And that's what we're trying to do at Chen Med, starting with the neediest communities.
And then you also started a Christian medical mission in Nicaragua. Can you talk about that?
We have been going to Nicaragua for over 30 years. And what we realized when going to Nicaragua, that a few things happened. One is we initially went because we were pouring into the poor, needy people of Nicaragua. But what we quickly realized was that we were experiencing more healing by going there and just understanding the whole world out there of what we have in America versus what they have in Nicaragua. It was just so refreshing and almost, spiritually revealing of what we are prioritizing, what's important in life. And so when we have gone down to Nicaragua, when we bring teams from Chen Med, we partner with medical schools and other universities to go down there and serve the people in Nicaragua. And it becomes this beautiful time period where hearts that may have been hardened become softened as you go to Nicaragua and you experience the poverty, see the need, but then you also can more clearly see God's hand at work. And that's why I'm just passionate about, our ministry in Nicaragua.
Absolutely. Healing body and spirit. All right, we're going to take one final break and be right back with Dr. Gordon Chen. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Dr. Gordon Chen, thank you so much for being with us. How can people find out more about you and Chen Med?
They can go to our website at chenmed.com or check out our book on Amazon. It's The Calling, a Memoir of Family, Faith, and the Future of Healthcare. Thanks so much for your time, Lori.
And thank you for being with us. It was indeed a pleasure. And thanks to you for joining us for this edition of Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. We'll see you again next week.